The dusty town square of Sheridan, Wyoming, baked under the merciless April sun of 1878. A makeshift wooden platform had been hammered together in front of the saloon, and a crowd of rough men, miners, ranch hands, gamblers, gathered in a loose semicircle. Whispers rustled like dry grass. Lydia Owens stood on that platform, wrists loosely bound with twine, her calico dress torn at the sleeve from where her husband had dragged her that morning. Her dark hair, usually pinned neatly, hung in tangled strands across her pale face. At 26, she looked older. Years of hoping Thomas would change had carved lines around her eyes. Thomas Owens himself stood at the edge of the crowd, hat low, avoiding her gaze. He'd lost everything at the poker tables in Cheyenne 2 weeks earlier, $800 to a man named Harlan Crow, who collected debts with a knife and a smile. Thomas had begged, promised, cried. Nothing worked. So he'd offered the only thing he had left that held value to desperate men, his wife. Next lot, the auctioneer bellowed, a fat man with a sweat-stained vest. Mrs. Lydia Owens, healthy, strong, good for housework, cooking, and other duties. Starting bid $50 to settle Mr. Owens' debt to Mr. Crow. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Someone shouted, "Make it 100, she looks like she can handle a ranch." Lydia's stomach twisted. She stared at Thomas, willing him to look up, to feel shame. He didn't. He just shuffled his boots in the dirt. Bids climbed slowly, 60, 75, 100. Harlan Crow watched from the saloon porch, arms crossed, satisfied. No one bid higher than what Thomas owed, they knew better than to cross him. Then a new voice cut through the noise, low, steady, like distant thunder. 500. The crowd hushed. Heads turned. A tall man in a weather duster coat stepped forward. Dust clung to his boots, a silver star glinted on his vest, no, not a badge, just a concho from his hatband. His face was shadowed by a wide-brimmed hat, but his eyes were clear blue, unflinching. He carried a Winchester rifle loosely in one hand, the other resting near his Colt. Heath Vance. Folks knew the name. A rancher from up near the Montana line, quiet, kept to himself, ran a spread of 2,000 acres with nothing but longhorns and hard work. No wife, no kin, no trouble. The auctioneer blinked. 500. You sure, Vance? Heath didn't answer him. He looked straight at Lydia. Something in his gaze made her breath catch, not pity, not lust. Just recognition. As if he'd seen this kind of brokenness before and refused to let it stand. Sold, the auctioneer yelped, banging his gavel. To Heath Vance for $500. Thomas finally looked up, eyes wide. Wait, that's more than I owe. Harlan Crow stepped down from the porch. Debts paid, Owens. Extras his business. He smirked at Heath. Smart move, cowboy. She's prime stock. Heath ignored him. He walked up the steps, pulled a knife from his belt, and sliced the twine on Lydia's wrists. She rubbed the red marks, staring at him. I didn't buy you, he said quietly, voice rough from trail dust. I bought your freedom. The paper's torn. You're no one's property now. Lydia's knees buckled. She would have fallen if he hadn't caught her arm, gently, like she might break. Thomas lunged forward. She's still my wife. Law says. Heath turned, hand on his Colt. Law says a man who sells his wife abandons her. You want to test that in front of witnesses? Thomas backed away, face pale. The crowd murmured, some laughing, some uneasy. Heath faced Lydia again. I have a wagon. Ranch is 2 days north. You can stay there till you decide what you want. No strings. Or I can take you to the stagecoach line tomorrow. Your choice. She looked at the horizon, endless prairie, mountains in the distance. Then at the man who'd just thrown away half a year's wages for a stranger. Why, she whispered. He shrugged. Some things ain't right. This was one of them. He helped her down. The crowd parted. Thomas disappeared into the saloon. Lydia climbed into the wagon, heart pounding. Freedom tasted like dust and possibility. The trail north wound through sagebrush and rocky canyons. Heath drove the wagon in silence most of the time, only speaking to point out water holes or warn of rattlesnakes. Lydia sat beside him, clutching a small bundle, everything she owned now, a shawl, a worn Bible, and the silver locket her mother had given her before dying of fever. Night fell on the first day. They camped beside a shallow creek. Heath built a fire, boiled coffee, fried bacon. He handed her a tin plate without a word. She ate slowly. You don't talk much. Words get folks in trouble, he said. Actions speak clearer. She studied him in the firelight. Scars on his knuckles, old bullet wound on his shoulder, she'd seen it when he rolled up his sleeve to wash. A man who'd fought and survived. Why'd you do it? She asked again. $500, that's a fortune out here. He poked the fire. Had the money. Had the chance. Saw a woman treated like cattle. Reminded me of my sister. She didn't get away. He didn't elaborate. Lydia didn't press. The second day brought trouble. A dust storm rolled in at noon, sky turned red, wind howled like demons. They sheltered in a shallow cave. Heath draped a blanket over her shoulders, stood at the entrance like a sentinel. When the wind died, they emerged to find the trail half buried. One wheel had cracked on a rock. Heath cursed softly, then set to work, jacked the wagon, carved a new spoke from a fallen pine. Lydia helped, holding lanterns, fetching tools. Their hands brushed once. She felt heat rise in her cheeks. By dusk, the wheel was fixed. They pushed on. That night, around the fire, she spoke first. Thomas, he wasn't always like this. We married young. He promised a farm, children. Then the drink, the cards. He hit me once, twice. Said it was my fault for not making him happy. Heath's jaw tightened. Ain't your fault. I know that now. She touched the locket. But I stayed. Thought it was my duty. Duty don't mean chains. She looked at him. You ever been married? No. Came close once. She wanted city life. I wanted open sky. We parted friends. Silence stretched. Stars wheeled overhead. On the third morning, they reached his ranch, a low log house, barn, corrals, a creek running through cottonwoods. Longhorns grazed in the distance. A dog barked, tail wagging. Heath helped her down. Welcome to Vance Hollow. Ain't much, but it's honest. She walked the porch, touched the rough wood. Inside, clean, sparse, table, chairs, a bed in the corner, books on a shelf. You can have the bed, he said. I'll bunk in the barn. No, she said. You've done enough. I'll take the cot. He didn't argue. Days turned to weeks. Lydia cooked, cleaned, mended. Heath worked cattle, fixed fences. They spoke more, about dreams, losses, the West's hard beauty. She laughed for the first time in years when he tried teaching her to rope and the lasso caught his own hat. One evening, as the sun bled red across the mountains, she found him on the porch, staring at the horizon. I'm grateful, she said. But I can't stay forever on charity. He turned. Ain't charity. Place feels fuller with you here. Her heart skipped. What are you saying? I'm saying if you want to leave, I'll drive you to the stage. But if you want to stay, I'd like that. Not as help. As partner. Maybe more, in time. She stepped closer. I don't want to leave. He reached out, brushed a strand of hair from her face. Gentle. Careful. Winter came hard that year, blizzards buried the trails, wolves howled at the door. But inside Vance Hollow, warmth grew. Lydia learned to ride, to shoot, to read the weather in the clouds. Heath taught her, she taught him patience, how to laugh at small things. Thomas reappeared in spring. Word reached them, he'd come north, drunk, claiming his wife. Heath met him at the gate, rifle in hand. She's free, Heath said. You sold her. Law knows it. Thomas sneered. She's mine by marriage. Lydia stepped out. Not anymore. She'd filed papers in Sheridan weeks earlier, abandonment, cruelty. Divorce granted. Thomas had no claim. He lunged. Heath knocked him down with one punch. Ride out. Don't come back. Thomas crawled away, cursing. After that, nothing stood between them. One summer evening, under a sky full of stars, Heath knelt by the creek. Lydia, he said, voice low. I never thought I'd want this again. But I do. Marry me. Not because I saved you. Because you saved me, from being alone. Tears blurred her vision. Yes. They married in the little church in Sheridan. No auction block this time, just vows, rings, friends from town who'd seen the change in both. Years passed. Children came, 2 boys, a girl. The ranch grew. Lydia planted a garden, roses climbing the porch. Heath still rode out at dawn, but always returned to her. One night, old and gray, they sat on that same porch. Lydia leaned against him. You changed my fate, she whispered. He kissed her forehead. We changed each other's. The West was still wild, debt still crushed men, but in Vance Hollow, love had won.